In the last video, there were some who believed that the TCL QM7K looked better on camera, so this is my attempt to show you a closer to real-life representation by whipping out the best camera that I have and putting it in essentially an HDR container, reworking it into SDR so that you can see what I'm talking about. It's a lot more work, but it's there. So simply put, there's a lot of red right here in the shadowy part of the image quality on the TCL QM7K. This red is undefeatable, and if you really took a look at it, you'd see all kinds of disgusting pixelization or pixelated artifacts and just stuff that doesn't look good. It's literally an unwatchable image, where on the Samsung S90D, you got all the shadow detail you could desire and want. Now, to really drive this fact home, what we're going to do is we're going to raise our camera sensitivity to light, called ISO. So you'll see that red, the higher I raise it, and it will not be prevalent at all in the shadows here. Now, here's the part of the video where I just want to show you guys, like, you have camera limitations really bad on YouTube. Those camera limitations don't go away. So again, you can clearly see it has shadow detail in spades on the Samsung S90D. It's just really difficult to show like OLED black on camera without it looking like Black Crush. So as we go through this, do keep that in mind. And this will always have lifted shadows because the contrast ratio is disgustingly weak. So again, try to keep that in mind when you watch these types of comparisons, because that will explain ultimately a lot of what you're looking at. But in this example, you can clearly see what I'm talking about. You do have all of the beautiful black that you would expect from OLED here, albeit when it comes to, again, the red, you're getting too much of it here. So again, more shadow detail, but it's a double-edged sword. Now, before we continue, I also would like you guys to see that the TCL is on the latest firmware. We're going to do this by going into check update, and you'll see at the bottom it will say your software is up to date. So there is literally nothing else we can do for TCL to make it look any better or any worse. It just looks like this. All this is pale and hazy. You lack stark depth and contrast here. Now, the reason why I would show a comparison between these two displays is because people will buy these two displays. Again, they're in a similar enough ballpark or price range that a lot of people will be looking at both of these televisions, and you'd be fooling yourself to say that it wouldn't happen. You see more depth, image for image, more color, more clarity. Everything just makes more sense on the Samsung S90D. It is truly and quite literally an entire world of difference. And there's that red I was talking about again in the rock formations again on the TCL QM7K. And again, landscapes look pale, people look pale. The television just presents a very pale and washed out look without any real reason for doing so. And it's irritating for me because as I go through this entire thing, my goal is to show you the most I can of a true-to-life representation. But again, I think it speaks for itself with how pale the mountain looks here. As I look on the camera, again, it's showing that red that I'm talking about again, right in here. And again, it's everything from the skin tones to the depth to literally everything about an image. It just looks better on the S90D. Now, there are people that would like to believe that the extra brightness is a benefit, the shadow detail and everything. I'm just here to let you know that's not the case. And this TV runs incredibly cold. Look at the sky in this example, the building. In this example, more of the same. Look at the mountains in the background. Look at the building. I mean, there's just so much of image quality that you just don't get on the TCL that to buy the TCL is literally just ripping yourself off, at least from what I feel. Essentially, the more color you look at, the more it becomes abundantly obvious just which one is the true quantum dot television with how pale and ugly and washed that becomes. It's clear, very clear. There isn't a competition to be had here or even a real comparison to be made. Now, people will still make the comparison, even though this comes in really hazy, and you can see that it tries to, again, dim down as time goes on. Very hazy over here in the corner, comparatively to OLED. I mean, it's not great. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's pretty trash, and that has some haze there too. This television was aimed, which is why I'm doing this comparison as well, as like a bridge between OLED and LED with the, crystal glow VA panel, the extra brightness. It's touting AI. It's supposed to really be the best of all worlds, and it's not. And I don't know how many times I or anyone else that, specializes in reviewing image quality has to tell you this, but you cannot beat Quantum.OLED if you aren't at that level equivalently from a technological standpoint or better. And the reason I say that is because LED has a little bit of a ceiling that it can hit. It's not going to be self-emissive, which translation, the contrast isn't starting from a perfectly blank canvas, a dark canvas. Black, and then, again, when you're talking about picture quality, that's about as good as you could get, because now you're not going to have any light bleeding or any of that stuff that you have on LED from the backlight. But now here comes the other aspect. Not all quantum dots are created equal. Unfortunately, TVs that look like this are able to pass off weak quantum dots as premium or high-end, when the truth is quantum dots are quantum dots. If you have them in your television, you're supposed to see explosively beautiful color. These TVs are struggling to hit low numbers in the DCI-P3 color coverage, or the color space of DCI-P3. Translation, that's the easiest color space to get 100% color coverage, and they're struggling to maintain ridiculously low numbers and like the 80s, okay, 90s, not even. You know what I mean? It's kind of sad. And then when you look at, again, the depth difference, like in this example, their claims of focusing on detail and pulling it through, they will word things in such a way, I'm not going to lie, that will excite you at CES. But when you get it into the lab, when you dial it into peak performance, not reference accuracy, peak performance, okay? Meaning the absolute best both TVs have the capability of looking while looking true to life. That is peak performance. So far that I know, am the only YouTuber that specializes in peak performance of televisions when doing reviews, which is why my reviews are so valuable for you, because this is letting you know very clearly it doesn't have it. The TCL QM7K will never have it. You could look at it against any OLED you want. Every OLED on the market, period, will beat this thing. And I mean every single OLED. There isn't an OLED I could name that wouldn't wipe the floor with the TCL QM7K. Now, the relevancy of this, and to show this again, with again some of the similar imagery that I've shown in the last video, is so that you could see it. Again, yes, there is a bit of magenta to the sky here in this example, for those who pointed that out in the last video. That was there. But as far as the black crush and TCL just looking better, no. TCL is struggling to maintain contrast. And that's kind of a big deal when it's supposed to be easy for it to do that. But I've also found a weird little bug on the TCL. Now, I don't know what this bug is, but it essentially is a white balance killing bug. So essentially how it works is the white balance will literally reset to default, and it won't take on any adjustments you've made to the white balance until you go in and you change it. And this will literally happen periodically, even as you watch the television. So far, nobody has talked about this, but this was a bug last year on the TCL QM7, QM8, And now here it is on the QM7K. So I think it's something that they're doing as far as the way they program these TVs. It seems software related, but I'm not in the business of giving the benefit of the doubt either, because if you sell a product, said product should just be buttoned up. I shouldn't have to play guessing games with you. I mean, look at this mountain. It looks amazing on the Samsung S90D. I mean, it's to the point where there really isn't a way to defend what we're seeing coming out of the TCL. You can try, but it would be very, very difficult to do so, given, again, you could just save a couple more $100. And I literally mean, like, what? If you're at 7, maybe 200 or 300 more dollars, and you got yourself a significantly better TV that blows the QM7 away in every aspect of the word, to the point where it's not even close. This thing looks like it has never even been optimized for. Now, what I'll do in real time too is show you the nature of this bug. So watch what happens when we go from warm 5 to normal. And then we go back to where we were. You see how it got warmer again? This is one of those like mondo irritating bugs about this television, like I was telling you. And I mean mondo irritating because it essentially truly affects the depth of your picture quality, the characteristics of your picture quality. Don't get me wrong, the S90D is still going to stamp all over this thing and absolutely curb stomp it into next week. But you get the idea. Like it makes it harder to want this TV when there's a bug that will make your TV cooler. You'll turn it on and you'll be like, why does my TV look so bad? I don't know if this is intentional to make you buy the step-up model so they retain bugs for the next model. That's just, that's me just being me thinking out loud. But you can see that there are some very real differences, at least as far as color goes. Now, if you're a fan of anime, this probably won't be as bad for you because that's where the TCL kind of does a little bit better. But the TCL does struggle with red in the shadows, and it overall does have a bit of a red push to it that does get a little annoying after a while. The upscaling capabilities are extraordinarily weak comparatively, and then you still retain a lot of the pale image quality that you really, frankly, don't want to look at. So it gets to a point where it becomes extremely difficult to recommend the TCL because, on the one hand, you have the Samsung with all the depth, clarity, black levels in the world, but then the TCL, which kind of promises the best of both, doesn't give the best of both. Now, I'll be very honest with you. Going into this, I was never expecting OLED performance, but we're getting so far below what we should have that it's not even funny. Now, the yellows look better and on the TCL than on Samsung, where they literally look like a highlighter green. That's nice. But when you really peel off the layers, when you have only one benefit, it's kind of like not worth it. And again, you can go through whatever example that you really want. I mean, it's going to really boil down to this. TCL overpromises, underdelivers, and gives very, very little to be desired. Now, it's not to say that they can't correct this down the road, but it is something that I find annoying. I mean, just look at that cyan difference. Your cyans are like pale and non-existent. And at least what Samsung is doing on the S90D is every bit what I said it was in the initial review. And though patches have nerfed it, it still far exceeds anything we have on the TCL in terms of color quality, accuracy. The list literally will go on for days and days. So again, as we go through and you see this, it'll become abundantly clear. Using TCL's own demo content, Samsung still has the edge by a massive margin. Now, again, the reason I'm being so thorough with this is because we are looking at people who will be in the same ballpark price-wise. And even still, without that, anybody with a brain will ask questions, and I know a lot of people will ask, well, should I get a TCL QM7K, save myself a couple $100, or is it worth paying the difference and stepping up to the Samsung QD-OLED line of things? Make no mistake, right now in 2024, or 2025, you won't find better than a Quantum Dot OLED. It's not going to happen no matter what anyone will tell you. This is just the pinnacle of what TVs look like. And again, you can clearly see it. I mean, it's very evident. You have detail and the foliage, the characters, the outlines, literally every aspect of the image quality, where again, the color comes to life in a way that it's not possible on another TV at this point in time. And if it is possible, nobody has shown it, nobody has done it. And it's probably going to be a very long time before you start seeing quantum dot OLED gains on at least LED level, mini LED level, whatever you want to call it. Again, people are making grand promises with the next wave of mini LEDs, but it's just not going to happen. Again, you can look at it, you can see it side by side. Hopefully this comparison will help illustrate it a little bit better, so you can see there's no comparison. Now, again, that's not going to stop people from comparing it, but I don't think that if you were relatively in the same ballpark that you should ever buy a TCL QM7K to the right versus a Samsung S90D to the left. It just doesn't make sense. It's bad for your wallet. It's stupid, and that's just as honest as anyone will have the heart to tell you. Hopefully you saw some of what I was talking about in this video, and if you did, smack a like on it. But do keep in mind, these are only visual aids. This is not a one-to-one comparison, meaning that I cannot give you everything I see with my naked eye through the camera lens, through YouTube compression. So again, keep that in mind. This is merely a visual guide to help you understand a little bit of what I was seeing and nothing else. That being said, I do want to thank you guys for watching, the #1 brand in honesty. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later.